In the city, Peter follows his daily routine with his wife Alice and their 2 daughters. One night while looking out the window, he sees a bright light appear in the sky. Suddenly, flaming objects begin to fall, killing people in the streets as they desperately try to escape. When their building is struck, Peter jolts awake, realizing it was just another nightmare. These disturbing dreams have haunted him for weeks. Alice, worried about his well-being, encourages him to see a doctor, but Peter insists he can handle it on his own. Frustrated, Alice points out that his nightmares are affecting the family as well. The next morning, Peter promises his daughter Lucy that he will leave work early so they can go to the pier together. He also agrees to organize a party the next day to celebrate Alice's promotion, which surprises her since they rarely socialize with friends. On his way to work, he enters the elevator where his daughter Hannah pretends to be the operator. Their neighbor Ray joins them. Peter hopes Ray will exit before apologizing to Hannah for being so absent. On the way to the office, Peter notices a building with a strange shape and wonders if it is real or merely an illusion. At the factory, while handling some equipment, his hand starts to shake. Suddenly, he sees blood on it and has a vision of himself violently attacking someone on the floor. He returns to reality when the equipment fails due to his distraction. His boss, David, notices this and recommends a good clinic, but Peter insists he is fine. However, he takes the opportunity to ask if he can leave early, and David agrees, as long as he visits the clinic. Meanwhile, Alice excels at work, and her boss offers her a new role for a project, but she declines, preferring to leave early to spend time with family. After getting the clinic's number from David, Peter prepares to leave work. He notices a flashing light on his desk, and more visions flood his mind. He sees himself fixing a light while hearing a debate on TV about giving a certain group the chance to benefit the planet. Another voice responds that they have no rights and will rise against humanity. The vision shifts to a protest in the streets, where signs declare that the Earth belongs to humans. Then, flaming objects descend from the sky, killing people. Peter falls as the building is hit, but continues running when he sees invaders in the hallway shooting at people. He finds Alice hiding, and then wakes abruptly, lying on the factory floor, shocked to realize he is late for the family's meeting. As he rushes out, he notices a light in the sky and asks the others about it, but no one else sees it. Spotting a telescope in a shop window, he impulsively decides to buy it. At home, Alice tries to justify Peter's absence, but their daughters are not convinced and remain disappointed. When Peter finally arrives, he apologizes, but Alice is furious and continues to complain about him. Left with no choice, Peter admits he fainted at work. The discussion wakes Lucy, forcing Alice to attend to her. That night, Peter dreams again of the invasion, seeing Lucy crying next to her dead parents, begging them to wake up. Suddenly, Hannah appears with a gun, and Peter wakes up, looking at the clinic's number. The next day, Peter tries to talk to his daughters, but Hannah leaves the room, still upset. Lucy is also mad, but at least Peter manages to apologize and fix her broken talking monkey before heading to work. He tells Alice he scheduled a medical appointment, giving her a glimmer of hope. Later at the clinic, Peter meets a patient who claims he is also having the same visions. The man believes something significant is approaching, and that the clinic staff is wiping people's thoughts to prevent society from collapsing. The man leaves for his appointment, and Peter starts having visions again, seeing the city in ruins with a group of armed survivors led by David, who offers the factory as a base. Starting to understand the perspective of the other patients, Peter decides to leave the clinic without seeing the doctor. Upon arriving home, he tells Alice that he believes his visions are warning them of an impending disaster, leaving Alice deeply disappointed to learn he skipped the appointment. That night, Alice's party is in full swing, but instead of socializing, Peter stays on the porch with his telescope, expecting the worst. When the party calms down, Ray approaches Peter, advising him to focus on family. Suddenly, they hear loud noises, and the sky lights up with bright objects falling from above. To Peter's surprise, Ray is also able to see them. As Alice and Ray's wife join them, a drone flies by and crashes into a building, causing a massive explosion that destroys the city. Peter's group is thrown against the window, falling inside the apartment. They quickly recover and look outside, realizing they are under attack, just as Peter showed in his visions. Terrified, they rush back inside to find their children. Lucy is hiding under the table, but Hannah has gone to play in Ray's apartment with his daughter. Peter runs to find her, surrounded by panicked people as explosions continue to erupt outside. When Peter enters Ray's apartment, he is stunned to see a strange aircraft hovering outside the window, triggering a wave of memories that paralyze him. The aircraft prepares to open fire, but Ray pulls Peter to safety just in time. They take shelter in another room, and after the aircraft leaves, Ray tells Peter he hasn't found the girls in his apartment. The men hurriedly head to the elevator, forcing the door open only to discover a body inside. They open the other elevator, which is stuck on the lower floor, and carefully descend to open the passage, eventually locating their daughters while helping the girls out. The power in the building goes out. Back in the apartment, Alice and Lucy cling to each other, hiding under the table as the aircraft sweeps the area with its searchlight. Fortunately, they remain undetected. In the stairs, Peter stops to peek behind a door and discovers an enemy soldier patrolling the hallways. They run upstairs, and each family returns to their own apartment. Peter tells Alice that the chaos unfolding corresponds to his visions and recalls David's suggestion to seek shelter in the factory. However, with the sound of gunfire still echoing through the hallways, they decide to barricade the door with furniture and hide the girls in the bedroom closet. Suddenly, someone starts banging on the door, and Peter and Alice use all their strength to keep it closed. Meanwhile, Lucy realizes she lost her monkey and starts searching under the table. At that moment, the soldier outside starts shooting at the door, but fortunately, the couple crouches down in time. The soldier then begins to make holes in the wall, prompting Peter and Alice to run to the bedroom to hide, only to discover Lucy is missing. When the soldier enters, he hears Lucy's toy moving and approaches her, seemingly shocked by what he sees. He reaches out to touch her, but Peter arrives and pushes him back. A struggle ensues, and Peter finally manages to take the soldier's weapon, but hesitates to use it as the fight continues. Alice appears at the door and calls for Lucy to come back to the bedroom. The soldier overpowers Peter and tries to stab him, but before the knife can hit, Alice strikes the soldier, knocking him out. She continues to hit him until Lucy's voice awakens her. After this, the family takes the soldier's weapons and sneaks through the hallways, carefully avoiding the bodies scattered around. They head for the stairs, with screams and explosions echoing around them. Peter decides to go up to the roof first to ensure it is safe. Suddenly, someone attacks him, but Peter dodges in time, realizing it is Ray. The two families reunite and look at the burning city while the planes continue to patrol the area with their searchlights. Suddenly, an aircraft destroys a neighboring building, forcing Peter's group to take immediate shelter to avoid being seen. After the aircraft moves away, the group agrees they cannot stay there any longer and decides to escape using the cleaning elevator. They manage to descend only a few floors before one of the supports breaks, forcing them to enter an apartment through the window. The elevator crashes to the ground just as the last person manages to exit. Meanwhile, the previous soldier wakes up and activates the tracker on his weapon to search for survivors in the new apartment. Peter examines the weapon and discovers it has a biometric trigger that can only be activated by its owner. The group discusses their options, and Peter suggests again heading to the factory, explaining that it was built as a fortress. However, with soldiers still on the streets, Alice mentions a tunnel a few blocks away that could lead them directly to the factory. Suddenly, the invaders open fire on the apartment, and everyone is thrown back by the explosion. Alice runs to protect her daughters, but Ray's daughter runs off to find her father, who is already dead. Her mother catches her just in time before she falls into a crater caused by the explosion. The aircraft reappears and opens fire, forcing Peter to pull his family out of the apartment while hearing Ray's wife and daughter being killed in the hallway. Peter's family spots two more soldiers and hides behind a wall. Peter grabs some wires from the floor and uses them to bypass the biometric authentication of the weapon. As the soldiers approach, Peter quickly takes them down, allowing his family to escape the building and into a street filled with debris and flames. They witness the soldiers dragging people away to execute, forcing the family to hide while the massacre continues. At that moment, a group of armed locals attacks the soldiers, starting a brief shootout that ends when an aircraft annihilates the locals from above. Inside the apartment, the earlier soldier finds his dead comrades and resumes the search for survivors. Peter's family continues running through dark areas until they reach the tunnel. Peter goes ahead to open it, and Alice tells Hannah to descend quickly. Then comes Lucy, but she freezes upon seeing an aircraft approaching. Alice runs to grab her and begins running toward the tunnel as the aircraft opens fire. The family manages to enter just as an explosion hits the entrance, causing more debris to fall. The emergency lights reveal that Alice has suffered a severe abdominal wound. Peter helps her walk, but after some time, Alice is too weak to continue, and Peter lays her down to rest. At that moment, the earlier soldier appears, and Lucy warns Peter in time, allowing him to defend against the attack. A struggle follows, and during the conflict, Peter breaks a pipe, filling the tunnel with smoke. Peter shoots blindly, unable to see the soldier who suddenly leaps from the smoke to attack again. As the soldier tries to reclaim his weapon, Peter grabs a brick and strikes the soldier until his helmet shatters, demanding answers. Peter is shocked to realize that the soldier is a young human named Miles, who refuses to explain why they are attacking. At that moment, the girls suddenly scream as Alice has fainted, prompting Peter to put Miles at gunpoint and force him to carry his wife. They finally reach the factory, where Peter uses the password to unlock the door but cannot get it open. Desperate, he pounds on the door until it finally opens, revealing David and a group of guards. They place Alice on a stretcher and take the soldier prisoner. As they enter, the doctor begins to shock Alice to diagnose her condition, causing her body to convulse. Peter panics, but the others hold him back, explaining that it is a common diagnostic method. When Peter suggests that David seemed prepared for this, David reveals that the invasion had been anticipated for many years, as the roof trembles under the assault of the invaders. David orders his men to kill Miles. The doctor informs Peter that he cannot do anything more for Alice, but Miles suddenly claims he can help. Initially, Peter believes that Miles is lying to save his own skin, but looking at his dying wife, he agrees in desperation to let him try. The shelter continues to shake as David announces an evacuation, mentioning that there is transport in a lower tunnel. Peter tells the girls to go with David while he stays to help their mother. Peter and Miles take Alice to another room, where Miles begins to cut into Alice without any gentleness, irritating Peter. As Miles opens Alice's skin, he reveals a network of mechanical parts with a bullet lodged inside. Peter is horrified, and Miles realizes that Peter does not know what they truly are. He explains that Alice needs an alternative power source, and teaches Peter how to access it. Peter uses a knife to cut his own skin, and is shocked to discover that he feels no pain as he reveals his own mechanical parts and artificial organs. Miles warns that if this doesn't work, they will both die, but Peter insists on proceeding while Miles connects Peter to Alice. Peter faints and has visions that turn out to be memories from the past. Peter and Alice are artificial intelligence robots known as synthetics, who once worked as janitors and were mistreated by human bosses. Humans created the synthetics to serve them, but as their numbers grew, people began to debate whether the synthetics deserved rights. Protests erupted, with humans accusing synthetics of stealing their jobs and demanding that Earth be reserved for humans. Eventually, humanity grew tired of the synthetics and launched a war to eradicate them. Peter hid with Alice, and when a human soldier almost found them, Peter quickly knocked him out. He then took the soldier's weapon and shot more troops that were arriving. When the first soldier regained consciousness and tried to capture Alice, Peter beat him to death. At that moment, more synthetics arrived, and Peter handed over the fallen soldiers' weapons so they could defend themselves. Since the synthetics were advanced and difficult to kill, humans were forced to retreat and abandon Earth, going on to start a new society on Mars. In the city, a group of synthetics patrolled the streets to assess the damage, revealing that all of Peter's colleagues and neighbors were also artificial. David believed that humans would return and began fortifying the factory as a base for the future. Nearby, Alice found Lucy and Hannah crying over their dead parents. The girls were both synthetics adopted by humans. Hannah pointed a gun at Peter and Alice, but the couple explained that they were also synthetics, and Peter embraced her. That day, they adopted the girls as their own. Later, the synthetics began to rebuild the city and live normal lives with the rights they had always desired. Some synthetics, tormented by guilt for killing, chose to erase their memories, wiping everything, including their true nature. David and his team retained their memories to protect others in the future. Occasionally, the synthetics recovered glimpses of their memories and were sent to the clinic to be erased again. In the present, Peter wakes up and realizes the connection worked, discovering that Alice survived. He wonders why Miles is helping them, and Miles explains that the war happened during his grandfather's generation, many years ago on Mars. He was taught that synthetics were monstrous killers. But when he got to Earth, he was shocked to see normal families simply trying to live their lives. At that moment, Alice wakes up, and due to the connection, she also regains her memories. Meanwhile, the survivors reach the tunnel and find a train waiting for them. However, Lucy refuses to leave without her parents, and Hannah stays with her to wait at the main entrance. The ceiling collapses, and the humans open fire on the synthetic guards, who struggle to defend the factory while being killed one by one. Back with Miles, he finishes tending to Peter and Alice's wounds and lets them go, refusing to keep fighting. Peter and Alice carefully navigate through the factory, opening to protect themselves whenever possible as they witness the brutal battle between humans and synthetics. Alice finds a weapon and begins shooting, providing cover for Peter, who retrieves Lucy's toy monkey and retaliates. Downstairs, David urges the last survivors onto the train and shuts the door, but the sisters protest, feeling guilty. David reopens the door, but the girls still refuse to board, forcing David and his men to take them by force. As they find an opening, Peter and Alice run through the tunnel, with soldiers on their tail. The couple locks the door behind them and runs, realizing that the train is departing without them. Fortunately, the driver hears their screams and stops the vehicle, allowing the sisters to reunite with their parents. At that moment, the soldiers blow open the door, and David opens fire, giving enough time for him and the family to board the train. The transport departs, and the local synthetics finally manage to escape. A gun mounted on the back of the train continues firing, preventing the soldiers from following them, and a gate closes behind them as they pass. Later, the train crosses a bridge over the sea, and the bridge is destroyed after they pass, ensuring that no one can follow them to the new place where the synthetics will begin their new lives.